Good evening, friend. I hope you're cozy, maybe curled up under a warm blanket, the world outside fading into a soft hum as you settle in for a story. Tonight, we're not chasing adventure or unraveling grand battles. No, we're stepping quietly into a forgotten corner of the Roman Empire, where the sands of a distant province whisper secrets too subtle for the history books. Picture it, a vast sun-scorched desert, the kind that stretches endlessly under a sky so blue it hurts the eyes. Somewhere in that expanse, in the shadow of a crumbling fort, a single object was unearthed, a leather belt, its bronze clasps etched with serpents and stars, worn by time but heavy with mystery. They call it the Roman belt, and it's more than it seems. Why was it buried? What did Rome not want known? Let's walk together into this quiet enigma, letting the past unfold like a dream. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the desert winds carry us back to 117 AD. If you're enjoying this gentle dive into history, I'd love for you to join our little community. Subscribe to the channel, and let's keep exploring these hidden tales together. The sun beats down on the province of Arabia Petraea, a land of red dunes and jagged rocks where the Roman Empire's reach feels more like a tentative grasp. The year is 117 AD and Rome is a titan, its legions scattered across 3 continents, its roads threading through forests and deserts alike. But here, in this remote outpost, the empire's grandeur feels distant, like a story told by someone else. The fort is a modest thing, walls of baked mud and stone, gates creaking in the wind, and a handful of legionaries who sweat through their tunics and dream of cooler lands. It's here, in this unremarkable place, that the Roman belt was found, not by a scholar or a general, but by a boy herding goats. Imagine him, a skinny lad named Amma, no more than 12, his feet calloused from wandering the dunes. His goats are stubborn, as goats always are, and one has strayed too close to the fort's outer wall, where the sand piles high against the stones. Amma scrambles after it, his bare toes sinking into the hot earth, when something catches his eye, a glint of metal half buried in the drift. He kneels, brushes away the sand, and pulls free a belt, its leather cracked but intact, its bronze clasps gleaming despite their age. The engravings are strange, serpents coiling around a field of stars, their eyes tiny and sharp, as if watching him. Amma turns it over in his hands, feeling its weight, heavier than it should be for something so small. He doesn't know it yet, but this moment, this chance discovery, will ripple far beyond the desert. The fort nearby is alive with the rhythm of military life. Legionaries drill in the courtyard, their sandals slapping the packed earth. The centurion barking orders in a voice hoarse from years of command. The air smells of dust and sweat, with a faint sweetness from the date palms growing near the oasis. Merchants pass through, their camels laden with spices and cloth, their voices rising in a tangle of Greek, Latin, and local tongues. The fort is a crossroads, a place where Rome meets the desert, where order meets chaos. But there's a tension here, too, unspoken but palpable. The local tribes who've lived here long before Rome's eagles arrived watch the soldiers with wary eyes. They pay their taxes, they bow to the governor, but their loyalty is thin, like a thread stretched too tight. Amar, clutching the belt, hesitates. He knows better than to approach the Romans. His father, a trader who barters wool for grain, has warned him. Keep your head down, boy. The Romans don't care for us unless we're useful. But curiosity burns in Amma's chest, brighter than the desert sun. He tucks the belt under his tunic and hurries home, the sand warm beneath his feet. His village is a cluster of mud brick houses, their roofs flat and baked hard by the sun. His mother is grinding barley, her hands moving in a steady rhythm, while his younger sister hums a song about the moon. Amma slips into their small courtyard and hides the belt beneath a pile of woven mats. He tells himself he'll show his father later, but deep down, he wants to keep it a secret, at least for now. That night, as the village settles into silence, Amma lies awake, the belt's image vivid in his mind. He dreams of serpents slithering through the stars, their hisses forming words he can't quite grasp. When he wakes, his heart is pounding, and the belt feels like a secret too big for his small hands. He doesn't know that this artifact, this Roman belt, has a history that stretches back decades, perhaps centuries. He doesn't know that it was once worn by a soldier, or a priest, or someone who stood at the edge of Rome's power, guarding a truth the empire wanted buried. But he feels it, in the way children sometimes feel truths adults ignore, a sense that this thing, this simple object, is alive with purpose. Let's shift our gaze to the fort, where the belt's discovery has not yet reached. The centurion, a man named Lucius, paces the ramparts at dawn. He's 40, his face lined like old leather, his eyes sharp despite the years spent squinting into the sun. Lucius is a soldier of Rome, born in a village near the Tiber, raised on stories of Caesar and the glory of the legions. But out here, in this desert, glory feels like a distant memory. His men are tired, their rations meager, their tempers frayed by the heat and the endless patrols. The locals are restless too. Just yesterday, a trader spat at the gates, muttering about taxes that leave his family hungry. Lucius knows the empire is vast, but he also knows it's fragile, held together by fear and force. A single rebellion, a betrayal, could set it all ablaze. Lucius doesn't yet know about the belt, but he's heard rumors, whispers among the men about strange finds in the desert. A dagger with runes no one can read. A statue of a god with no name. The soldiers laugh them off, calling them tales for children, but Lucius isn't so sure. He's seen too much in his years, men driven mad by fever, visions of gods in the heat haze, omens in the flight of birds. Rome is powerful, but it's not invincible. And out here, where the empire's grip is weakest, strange things linger in the shadows. Back in the village, Amar's father, Tariq, notices his son's unease. Tariq is a wiry man, his hands rough from years of handling wool and bargaining with merchants over a meal of flatbread and lentils. He asks Amar what's troubling him. The boy hesitates, then confesses, pulling the belt from its hiding place. Tariq's eyes narrow as he examines it, his fingers tracing the serpents and stars. "This is no merchant's trinket," he says, his voice low. "This is Roman, and old, too old." He tells Amar to keep it hidden, to speak of it, to no one. "The Romans will come for it," he warns, "and they don't ask kindly. But secrets, like sand, have a way of slipping through fingers." By morning, word of the belt has reached the fort, carried by a neighbor who overheard him. Whispers a soldier, a young legionary named Gaius, is sent to the village to investigate. Gaius is barely 20, his armor still shiny, his face unscarred by battle. He's eager, too eager, dreaming of glory and a chance to prove himself. When he arrives at Tariq's house, he's polite but firm, demanding to see the belt. Tariq denies everything, his face a mask of calm, but Amar, hiding behind a curtain, feels his heart race. The belt is still under the mats, but for how long? As Gaius leaves, empty-handed but suspicious, the desert wind picks up, carrying the scent of dust and distant rain. The fort looms on the horizon, its walls stark against the endless dunes. Lucius, standing on the ramparts, feels a prickle of unease, though he can't name it. The empire is vast, but it's not eternal, and somewhere, in a boy's trembling hands, a belt holds secrets that could unravel more than just a single fort. What did Rome not want known? Why was this artifact buried, forgotten in the sands? We'll find out, friend, as we follow Amar and Gaius into the heart of this mystery. Let's pause here, in the quiet of the desert night. The stars are bright above, and the air is cool, carrying the faint rustle of palm fronds. Amar clutches the belt, his dreams uneasy. Gaius marches back to the fort, his mind buzzing with ambition, and Lucius, ever watchful, senses a storm coming, though he doesn't yet know its shape. Rest now, friend, and we'll return to this tale soon, to see where the belt leads us next. The desert dawn breaks slowly, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, but the air in the fort is heavy with unease. The scent of dust mingles with the sharp tang of olive oil from the soldiers' breakfast, and the clatter of armor echoes. As men prepare for the day's patrols, Lucius stands on the ramparts, his eyes scanning the horizon where the dunes roll endlessly toward the unseen sea. He's been a soldier for 20 years, long enough to know that trouble often comes quietly, disguised in whispers or small things like a boy's discovery in the sand. Gaius's report from the village yesterday gnaws at him. A belt, the boy said, found by a local child. Lucius has heard such tales before, trinkets unearthed, relics traded in markets, but something about this one feels different. The way Gaius described it, with its serpents and stars, stirs a memory he can't quite place, like a song half-forgotten. Below, in the fort's courtyard, Gaius adjusts his armor, his movements quick and restless. He's young, barely a year into his service, and the desert feels like a cage to him. He dreams of Rome, of marble forums and cheering crowds, not this dusty outpost where the locals glare and the sun burns through ambition. His visit to the village yesterday left him frustrated. Tariq, the boy's father, was too calm, too quick to deny everything. Gaius knows they're hiding something, and he's determined to prove it. The belt, he thinks, could be his chance, a way to stand out, to earn a promotion, to escape this forsaken place. As he polishes his sword, he imagines himself presenting the artifact to the governor, his name whispered in the halls of power. But for now, he's just a legionary, ordered to patrol the trade road with a dozen others, their sandals kicking up clouds of sand. In the village, Amar wakes to the sound of his mother grinding barley. The steady rhythm is familiar as his own heartbeat. The belt is still hidden beneath the mats in the courtyard, its presence a secret that presses against his chest. He didn't sleep well. His dreams were strange serpents coiling through a sky full of stars, their hisses forming words he couldn't understand. He tells himself it's just a belt, just leather and bronze, but when he touches it, his fingers tingle, as if the metal holds a pulse. Tariq notices his son's distraction and pulls him aside as the sun climbs higher. "You didn't show it to anyone, did you?" he asks, his voice low, his eyes searching. Amar shakes his head, but his cheeks flush, and Tariq's frown deepens. "Keep it hidden," he says again. "The Romans will take it, and they'll take more than that if they think we're hiding something." Tariq knows the cost of Roman attention. Years ago, when the legions first came to Arabia Petraea, his brother was conscripted to build their roads, worked until his hands bled and his lungs filled with dust. He never came back. Tariq survived by keeping his head down, trading wool and smiling at soldiers. But the belt changes things. It's not just its craftsmanship, the intricate engravings, the weight that feels wrong for its size. It's the way it seems to draw attention, like a flame calling moths. He's heard stories from traders, tales of relics that bring luck, or ruin, of objects buried to keep them from the wrong hands. He wonders if the belt is one of these, and what it might mean for his family if the Romans come looking. Let's pause and picture the scene. The village is stirring now, the air filled with the bleating of goats and the chatter of women drawing water from the well. The houses, built of mud and straw, huddled together as if shielding each other from the desert's vastness. Beyond the village, the trade road stretches, a scar of packed earth where caravans trudge with their loads of frankincense and silk. The fort looms in the distance, its walls stark against the dunes, a reminder of Rome's presence. Amma slips out to tend the goats, the belt still hidden but heavy on his mind. He wonders if he should bury it again, let the sand take it back. But something stops him, a curiosity, or perhaps something deeper. Like a voice he can't quite hear at the fort, Lucius calls Gaius to his quarters, a cramped room with a wooden table and a single oil lamp flickering in the corner. The air smells of wax and leather, and the walls are scratched with graffiti from soldiers' long-gone names, curses, prayers. Lucius sits, his armor creaking, and fixes Gaius with a stare that makes the younger man shift uncomfortably. "This belt you spoke of," Lucius says, his voice low. "Tell me again, every detail." Gaius recounts the story, the boy, the village, Tariq's denial. He describes the belt as the villagers whispered of it: leather, bronze, serpents, coiled around stars. Lucius listens, his fingers drumming on the table. He's heard tales like this before, not here but in other provinces, objects tied to old gods, to rituals Rome tried to stamp out. The empire is vast, but it's not alone. Beyond its borders, and even within, there are powers older than Rome, powers that don't bow to the eagle. Lucius dismisses Gaius but keeps the story in his mind. He's practical, a man of orders and discipline, but he's not blind to the strange. In Britannia, years ago, he saw a druid's curse leave a man trembling with fever, though no blade touched him. In Egypt, he heard priests speak of relics that carried the will of gods. The belt, he thinks, might be nothing a soldier's lost gear, a craftsman's whim, but it might be something more, something Rome would rather keep buried. He resolves to visit the village himself, to see this boy and his father, to judge for himself whether the belt is worth his attention. As the day wears on, the fort hums with activity. A caravan arrives, its camels snorting, their packs heavy, with goods from distant lands. Merchants shout prices, soldiers inspect the wares, and a low buzz of gossip spreads news of Emperor Trajan's illness, of unrest in the eastern provinces, of bandits on the trade road. Gaius joins his patrol, his mind still on the belt. He imagines finding it, claiming it, earning the praise of his superiors. But as he marches, the desert seems to watch him, its silence vast and heavy. He feels a prickle on his neck, like eyes. On his back, though no one is there, in the village, Amr's sister Layla finds him by the goats, her dark eyes bright with curiosity. She's only 8, but she's sharp, always watching, always asking questions. "What's that thing you hid?" she whispers, glancing toward the mats. Amr shushes her, his heart racing, but Layla's too quick. She darts to the courtyard, pulls back the mats, and gasps at the belt's glint. "It's pretty," she says, reaching for it. Amr snatches it away, his voice sharp. "Don't touch it." Layla pouts, but she sees the fear in her brother's eyes and backs off. The belt stays hidden, but the secret is fraying, like a rope under too much strain. The sun sets, casting long shadows across the desert. The fort's torches flare to life, their light dancing on the walls. Lucius prepares to visit the village tomorrow, his mind heavy with duty and doubt. Gaius lies on his pallet, dreaming of glory but haunted by the desert's silence. Amor sits by the mats, the belt's weight a quiet presence, its serpents and stars seeming to pulse in the dark. The empire, vast and mighty, feels far away, but its shadow looms over this small corner of the world. The belt, whatever it is no longer just a find in the sand. It's a spark, and sparks can start fires. Let's linger here a moment. Friend, in the desert's quiet night, the stars are sharp above, and the air carries the faint scent of dust and date palms. Amma clutches the belt, his dreams uneasy. Gaius marches back to the fort, his ambition burning. Lucius stands watch, sensing a mystery he can't yet name. Rest now, and we'll return soon to follow the belt's path, to meet a soldier whose story will draw us deeper into the empire's shadows. The morning sun rises over the fort, its light harsh and unyielding, baking the mud walls until they shimmer with heat. The air carries the scent of dry earth and the faint musk of camels from a caravan camped nearby. Lucius is up early, his sandals crunching on the gravel as he inspects the guard posts. His mind is still on the belt. Gaius described leather bronze, serpents coiled around stars. He's decided to visit the village today, to see this boy Amr and his father Tariq, to judge for himself whether the rumors hold weight. But as he moves through the fort, his eyes catch a lone figure leaning against the barracks wall, sharpening a dagger with slow, deliberate strokes. This is Marcus, a soldier without a name at least. That's what the others call him, for he speaks little and shares less. Marcus is a mystery even to his comrades. He's older than Gaius but younger than Lucius, perhaps 30, with a lean frame and eyes that seem to see too much. His armor is worn, its edges dented from battles he never speaks of, and a scar runs jagged across his left forearm, a silent story of some forgotten fight. The men say he appeared one day, transferred from a legion in Judea, his record sparse and his past a blank slate. He does his duty marches, fights, stands watch, but there's a distance to him, as if he's carrying a weight no one else can see. Lucius watches him now, the dagger catching the sunlight, and wonders why Marcus feels like a piece of the puzzle he's only beginning to understand. In the village, Amr wakes to the sound of his sister Layla singing softly, her voice weaving through the morning's quiet. The belt is still hidden, but its presence feels heavier today, like a stone in his chest. He checks the mats, his fingers brushing the leather, and shivers despite the warmth. Last night's dreams were vivid serpents slithering through a field of stars, their eyes glowing like embers, whispering in a tongue that felt both foreign and familiar. He tells himself it's just a boy's imagination, but when he looks at the belt, the bronze clasps seem to pulse, as if alive. Layla, ever curious, hovers nearby, her dark braids swinging as she asks again about the shiny thing. Amr snaps at her to be quiet, but guilt follows quickly. He doesn't want to scare her, but he's scared himself, though he can't say why. Tariq is already gone, off to the market to trade wool with merchants passing through. The village is alive now, with women baking flatbread and children chasing goats through the narrow alleys. Amr takes his herd to the hills, the belt tucked under his tunic, its weight pressing against his ribs. He tells himself he's keeping it safe, but deep down, he's afraid to let it go. As he walks, the desert stretches around him, vast and silent, the fort a dark silhouette against the dunes. He wonders about the soldier who came yesterday, Gaius, with his polished armor and sharp questions. Will he return? Will he bring others? Amr's father said the Romans take what they want, and the thought makes his stomach twist. Back at the fort, Marcus is summoned to join Lucius's patrol to the village. Gaius is there too, eager to prove himself, his eyes bright with ambition. The three march out with a handful of others, their sandals kicking up dust along the trade road. The air is thick with the scent of sage and the distant temps of salt. From the Dead Sea, Lucius leads, his stride steady but his mind restless. He's thinking of the belt, of the rumors that swirl around it like sand in a storm. Marcus, walking a few paces behind, keeps his eyes on the ground, but his thoughts are elsewhere. He's seen the belt before, not this one, perhaps, but something like it, years ago in Judea. A relic, they called it, buried in a temple's ruins. Its engravings eerily similar to the ones Gaius described. He never spoke of it then, and he won't now, but the memory sits heavy, like a stone in his gut. The village comes into view, its mud brick houses huddled against the desert's vastness. Lucius halts the patrol at the edge, his hand resting on his sword hilt. He's no stranger to villages like this, places where Rome's presence is tolerated but never welcomed. The locals watch from doorways, their faces guarded, their hands still. Lucius calls for Tariq, but a woman, Amr's mother, near, says he's at the market. She's calm, her voice steady, but her eyes flick to the side, toward the courtyard where the belt lies hidden. Lucius notices, though he says nothing. Gaius, impatient, steps forward, demanding to see the boy who found the trinket. Nor hesitates, then calls for Amr, who's just returned from the hills, his goats trailing behind. Amr steps forward, his heart pounding, the belt still hidden under his tunic. He's small for his age, his dark eyes wide but defiant. Lucius studies him, noting the way his hands fidget, the way he avoids Gaius's gaze. You found something in the sand, Lucius says, his voice low but firm. Show me. Amr shakes his head, his lips pressed tight. Gaius scoffs, stepping closer, but Marcus puts a hand on his shoulder, a silent warning. There's something in Marcus's eyes, calm but sharp, like a blade held still. Lucius notices, and a question forms in his mind. What does Marcus know? The standoff is interrupted by a shout from the market, a chaotic sprawl of tents and stalls just beyond the village. Tariq is there, arguing with a merchant over a bale of wool, his voice rising above the chatter of traders and the bleating of livestock. Lucius decides to move the conversation there, hoping to catch Tariq off guard. The patrol marches to the market, Amr trailing behind, his hand clutching the belt through his tunic. The market is a riot of color and sound, red and blue cloths flapping in the wind, the scent of spices and roasted meat, the clink of coins changing hands. Tariq sees the soldiers and stiffens, his smile fading. Lucius approaches, his tone polite, but unyielding. Your son found something, he says. A belt. I need to see it. Tariq's face is a mask, but his eyes betray a flicker of fear. He denies knowing anything, his words smooth but practiced. Gaius, frustrated, pushes forward, his voice loud enough to draw stares from nearby merchants. We know you have it, he snaps. Hand it over, or we'll search every house. The crowd quiets, the air growing tense. Amr, standing at the edge, feels the belt's weight like a chain. He wants to run, but his feet are rooted to the ground. Marcus, silent until now, steps forward, his voice low. Let the boy speak, he says, his eyes locked on Amara. There's no threat in his tone, but something else, understanding perhaps, or recognition. Amr stammers, his words tripping over each other. I didn't find anything. He lies, his cheeks burning. Lucius watches him closely, his instincts telling him the boy is hiding more than fear. But before he can press further, a commotion erupts. A camel breaks free, knocking over a stall, and the market explodes into chaos. Merchants shout, soldiers curse, and Amr slips away, his heart racing as he ducks behind a tent. The belt is still with him, its bronze clasps warm against his skin. He knows he can't keep it much longer, but letting it go feels wrong, like betraying a secret he doesn't yet understand. Lucius calls off the search for now. His men needed to calm the market's chaos. Gaius fumes, certain the villagers are mocking them. Marcus says nothing, his eyes lingering on the spot where Amr disappeared. He's thinking of that relic in Judea, of the stories whispered by priests, stories of artifacts that carried the power that changed fates. He wonders if this belt is one of them, and why it feels so familiar. Lucius, watching the market settle, feels the weight of his duty. The empire demands order, but order is slipping, like sand through his fingers. The belt, he knows, is more than a trinket. It's a thread in a larger tapestry, one that could unravel everything. As the sun dips low, painting the sky crimson, the fort and village settle into an uneasy quiet. Amr hides the belt again, this time in a clay jar buried in the courtyard. Gaius sharpens his sword, his ambition burning brighter than ever. Marcus stands alone, his dagger gleaming, his past a shadow that clings to him. And Lucius, back on the ramparts, looks out at the desert, the belt's mystery gnawing at him. The empire is vast, but it's not eternal. And in this small corner of Arabia, Petrea, a boy, a soldier, and a centurion are caught in the pool of something older, something Rome might fear. Let's rest here, friend, in the desert's fading light. The air is cool now, carrying the scent of dust and distant rain. Amaru's dreams will be restless, Gaius's ambition will grow, and Marcus's silence hides more than he lets on. We'll return soon to follow the belt's path, to uncover the whispers it carries and the secrets it guards. Sleep well, and let the story wait for us. The market of the village is a living thing, pulsing with the energy of 100 voices, the clatter of pottery and the bleating of goats. The sun hangs high, its heat pressing down like a heavy hand, turning the air thick with the scents of cumin, roasted chickpeas, and the faint musk of livestock. Stalls line the dusty paths, their awnings of red and yellow cloth flapping in the breeze, offering shade to merchants who shout their wares, dates as sweet as honey, bolts of linen, dyed the color of the sea, and bronze trinkets that glint like promises. Amr weaves through the crowd, his heart still racing from the soldier's visit, the belt tucked tightly under his tunic. Its bronze clasps press against his ribs, warm and heavy, as if whispering to him to keep moving, to stay hidden. He ducks, behind a stall piled high with baskets, his eyes darting to where Lucius and his men stand near the market's center. The centurion's presence is like a stone dropped into a pool, rippling silence through the nearby traders. Lucius is calm, his voice low as he questions a merchant about Tariq, but his eyes scan the crowd, sharp and unyielding. Gaius, at his side, is less patient, his hand twitching toward his sword as if he could cut through lies to find the belt. Marcus, as always, is a step behind, his face unreadable, his dagger now sheathed but gleaming in his belt. Amr watches them, his breath shallow, and wonders how long he can keep the belt a secret. His father's warning echoes in his mind. The Romans take what they want. Tariq is at his own stall, a modest setup with bales of wool stacked neatly, their earthy scent mingling with the market's chaos. He's bartering with a Greek trader, his voice steady but his eyes flicking toward the soldiers. He saw them arrive, saw Amr slip away, and now his mind churns with worry. The belt, he knows, is no ordinary find. Its engraving serpents coiled around stars are too precise to deliberate, like something meant for more than a soldier's waist. Tariq has heard stories from caravan drivers, tales of relics that carry blessings or curses, of objects buried to keep them from greedy hands. He fears the belt is one of these, and that its discovery could bring trouble to his family, his village, perhaps even beyond. Let's pause and breathe in the market's life. Picture the stalls, bright with woven rugs and clay jars, the air alive with the chatter of Aramaic, Greek, and Latin. A woman haggles over a sack of barley, her laughter sharp and quick. A child chases a stray dog, dodging between camels that snort and shuffle. The fort looms in the distance, its walls a stark reminder of Rome's reach. But here, in the market, The Empire feels like a guest, not a master. The locals trade, laugh, and live, but their eyes are wary, their smiles tight when soldiers pass. Amar, crouched behind the baskets, feels the belt's weight and wonders if he should give it up. Let the Romans take it and be done. But something holds him back, a pull, like a voice he can't quite hear, urging him to protect it. Lucius moves through the market, his men fanning out to ask questions. The merchants are polite but vague, their answers slipping like sand through fingers. A belt. Many belts here, sir, says one, gesturing to a pile of leather straps. Nothing special, says another, his eyes avoiding Lucius's gaze. The centurion's patience is thinning, but he keeps his tone even. He's dealt with villages like this before, places where loyalty to Rome is a mask, worn only when necessary. He's not here to make enemies, but he needs answers. The belt, as Gaius described it, feels like a thread in a larger tapestry, one that could unravel if pulled too hard. He's heard of such things, artifacts tied to old cults, to gods Rome tried to erase. The empire is built on order, but order is fragile in places like this. Gaius, meanwhile, is restless, his ambition a fire that burns too bright. He corners a young trader, a man with nervous hands and a stammer, demanding to know about the boy who found something in the sand. The trader shakes his head, muttering about goats and dunes, but Gaius leans closer, his voice sharp. "Don't lie to me," he says, his hand on his sword hilt. The trader flinches and the crowd around them grows quiet, eyes darting between the soldier and the man. Marcus steps in, his hand light but firm on Gaius's arm. "Enough," he says, his voice low, almost a whisper. Gaius glares but steps back, his cheeks flushed with frustration. Marcus's eyes meet the trader's, and for a moment, there's a flicker of understanding, as if they share a secret neither will speak. Amar, watching from his hiding place, feels a chill despite the heat. The soldier with the scar marker seems different, quieter, like he knows something the others don't. Amar's fingers brush the belt, and he swears it feels warmer now, as if responding to the tension in the air. He wants to run to his father, to confess everything, but the crowd is too thick, the soldiers too close. Instead, he slips deeper into the market, moving toward a quieter corner where an old woman sits, her stole draped in faded cloth. Her name is Zainab, a widow known for her stories, her eyes milky with age but sharp with wisdom. The villagers say she sees things, visions, omens, truths hidden in the weave of time. Amar doesn't know why he's drawn to her, but his feet move before his mind can argue. Zainab looks up as he approaches, her wrinkled hands pausing over a pile of dried herbs. "Boy," she says, her voice like dry leaves, "you carry something." Heavy. Amar freezes, his heart pounding. He hasn't told anyone but his father and sister about the belt, yet Zainab's eyes seem to see right through him. I don't know what you mean," he stammers, but she shakes her head, a faint smile on her lips. "It's not yours to keep," she says. "Nor theirs," she adds, glancing toward the soldiers. "Some things are meant to stay buried." Amar wants to ask more, but a shout from the market pulls his attention. Gaius, arguing with another merchant, his voice rising above the crowd. Lucius, tired of half answers, decides to change tactics. He calls for a search of the village, a move that draws sharp looks from the locals. The market's hum falters, replaced by a tense murmur. Tariq, hearing the order, slips away from his store, his mind racing. He needs to find Amar to get the belt out of the village before the soldiers tear through their home. He spots his son near Zainab's stall and hurries over, his face tight with worry. "Give it to me," he whispers, pulling Amar into the shadow of a tent. Amar hesitates, his hand clutching the belt through his tunic. It's safe," he says, but his voice shakes. Tariq's eyes soften, but his tone is firm. "No, it's not. Not for us." Before they can act, Lucius's men begin, moving through the market, their hands on their swords, their eyes searching. The crowd parts, some muttering curses, others falling silent. Marcus lingers near the edge, his gaze drifting to Zainab's stall. He's heard of her, the old woman who speaks of gods and visions, and he wonders if she knows more than she lets. Years ago, in Judea, he met a priest who spoke of relics like the belt, objects tied to powers older than Rome, powers that could bless or destroy. Marcus kept silent then, and he does now, but the memory stirs, sharp and unwelcome. Pressed against his father, feels the belt's weight like a chain. He wants to give it up, to be free of it, but Zainab's words echo in his mind. Some things are meant to stay buried. He wonders what she meant, what the belt is, why it feels alive under his fingers. The soldiers are closer now, their shadows falling over the stalls. Gaius, eager to prove himself, pushes through the crowd, his eyes locking on Amar and Tariq. He calls, his voice cutting through the noise. "Show me what you're hiding." Amar's heart leaps, and Tariq steps in front of him, his hands raised but his face defiant. The market holds its breath, the air thick with tension. Lucius watches his hand on his sword, his mind weighing duty against instinct. Marcus, silent, shifts his weight, his eyes on Amar, as if seeing something no one else does. Zainab, unnoticed by the soldiers, mutters a prayer under her breath, her hands clutching her herbs. The belt, hidden but present, seems to hum, its serpents and stars, a secret waiting to unravel. The empire's shadow looms, but so does something, older something that doesn't bow to Rome. Subscribe if you like the video. It helps keep these stories alive. Let's pause here, friend. In the market's fading light, the sun dips low, painting the sky crimson, and the air carries a scent of spices and dust. Amor clings to the belt, his father's protection a fragile shield. Gaius burns with ambition, Lucius with duty, and Marcus with secrets of his own. The belt's mystery grows, pulling them all toward a truth that could change everything. Rest now, and we'll return soon to follow the whispers, to see where the belt leads next. The market's clamor fades as the sun sinks, painting the sky in streaks of crimson and gold. The air cools, carrying the scent of dust and the faint sweetness of date palms swaying near the oasis. Amor clutches the belt beneath his tunic, its bronze clasps pressing into his skin like a secret too heavy to bear. Tariq, his father, pulls him through the thinning crowd, their steps quick but careful, avoiding the soldiers' watchful eyes. Gaius's shout still rings in Amor's ears, "Show me what you're hiding." And the boy's heart races as he glances back, half expecting to see the young legionary charging after them. But the market's chaos has swallowed the soldiers for now. Lucius calling his men to restore order among scattered stalls and spooked camels. Tariq's grip is firm, his face set with a determination that hides his fear. "We need to get home," he whispers, steering Amor toward the village's edge. And that thing stays hidden. In the fort, Lucius regroups his patrol, his jaw tight with frustration. The market's disruption gave the boy and his father a chance to slip away, and he knows a full search now would only stir more resentment. Among the locals, he's seen villagers turn hostile before stones thrown in the night, supplies stolen, whispers of rebellion. He needs the belt, but he needs the villagers' cooperation more. Gaius, pacing nearby, fumes his ambition afire, that blinds him to subtlety. "We should tear their houses apart," he mutters, his hand on his sword hilt. Lucius fixes him with a cold stare. "And make enemies of every man here. Use your head, boy." Marcus, leaning against a nearby wall, says nothing, his scarred forearm catching the torchlight as he sharpens his dagger with slow, deliberate strokes. Lucius notices the soldier's silence, the way his eyes linger on the village, and wonders again what Marcus knows. Amor and Tariq reach their home, a modest mud brick house with a flat roof and a courtyard shaded by a single acacia tree. Air smells of barley and wood smoke, and Amor's mother Nuer is kneading dough, her hands moving in a steady rhythm. She looks up as they enter, her eyes sharp with worry. "The soldiers?" she asks, her voice low. Tariq shakes his head, but his expression betrays his unease. "They'll be back," he says, glancing at Amor. "Give it to me." Amor hesitates, his fingers brushing the belt's leather, its serpents and stars seeming to pulse under his touch. He pulls it from his tunic, the bronze glinting in the dim light, and hands it to his father. Tariq wraps it in a cloth and buries it deep in a clay jar, tucking it behind a stack of firewood. "No one touches it," he says, his voice firm but strained. "Not even you." But Amor can't shake the belt's pull. He thinks of Zainab, the old woman in the market, her words like a riddle. Some things are meant to stay buried. She seemed to know something, to see something, and Amor's curiosity burns brighter than his fear. As night falls, the village settles into a restless quiet, the only sounds the distant howl of a jackal and the soft crackle of Nuer's fire. Amor lies on his pallet, his sister Layla asleep beside him, her breathing soft and steady. He stares at the ceiling, the belt's image vivid in his mind. He needs answers, and Zainab, with her milky eyes and cryptic warnings, feels like his only hope. At dawn, Amor slips out, leaving his family asleep. The village is still, the air cool and heavy with dew. He moves quietly, avoiding the main paths, his sandals silent on the packed earth. Zainab's house is at the village's edge, a small, crumbling structure draped in faded cloth, its doorway framed by bundles of dried herbs. The scent of sage and myrrh hangs heavy as he approaches, his heart pounding. Zainab is already awake, sitting cross-legged on a woven mat, her hands sorting through a pile of roots. She doesn't look up, but her voice cuts through the silence. "I knew you'd come, boy," she says, her tone soft but heavy, like the desert itself speaking. Amor freezes, then steps closer, his voice barely a whisper. "You know about the belt." Zainab's eyes, clouded but piercing, meet his eye. "No, it's not yours," she says, "nor Rome's." She gestures for him to sit, and he does, his knees sinking into the mat. The air feels different here, charged, as if the world holds its breath. Zainab is no ordinary woman. The villagers call her an oracle, a keeper of old stories, someone who sees beyond the veil of time. Amor has heard tales of her visions, predictions, of rain, warnings of raids, glimpses of things no one else can see. He doesn't know if he believes, but he feels the belt's weight even now, though it's hidden back home. "What is it?" he asks, his voice trembling. "Why does it feel alive?" Zainab's hands pause, her fingers curling around a root as if anchoring herself. "That belt," she says, "was made before Rome was born, before its eagles, Fluid carries a name, a purpose, but not one you'd understand, not yet. She leans closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. It was buried for a reason. Boy, to keep it from hands that would use it, or break it. Amar's eyes widen, his mind racing with questions, but Zainab raises a hand, silencing him. I saw it in a dream, she says. Serpents and stars, binding life and death. It's not a trinket, it's a key, but to what? Even I can't see. Back at the fort, Lucius prepares for another day, his mind heavy with the belt's mystery. He's received word from the governor in Petra order to maintain order, to keep the trade road open, to stamp out any whispers of unrest. The belt, though small, feels like a spark that could ignite trouble. He summons Marcus, hoping the silent soldier might shed light. You've seen things like this before, Lucius says, not a question but a statement. Marcus's face is unreadable, but his eyes flicker, just for a moment. Relics, he says, his voice low. In Judea there were stories, objects that carried weight power. Maybe the priests hid them from us. Lucius nods, his suspicions growing. Marcus knows more, but he's not ready to speak, and Lucius won't force him, not yet. Gaius, meanwhile, is restless, his ambition a fire that won't burn out. He's overheard the soldiers' gossip tales of the belt, of its strange engravings, of a boy who found it in the sand. He's determined to find it, to claim it, to make his name known beyond this dusty outpost. He slips out of the fort at midday, ignoring Lucius's orders, and heads to the village alone, his armor glinting in the sun. He doesn't notice Marcus watching him go, the soldier's eyes narrowing, his hand tightening on his dagger. In house, Amma listens, his heart pounding as she speaks of the belt's origin stories, of a people older than Rome, of rituals under starlit skies, of a power that could bless or curse. It chooses who carries it, she says, her voice fading, as if the words themselves are heavy, but it also binds them. Be careful, boy. Before Amma can ask more, a shadow falls across the doorway. Gaius stands there, his face flushed, with heat and impatience. You, he says, pointing at Amma. Where's the belt? Zainab's eyes narrow, but she says nothing, her hands clutching her roots like a shield. Amma scrambles to his feet, his mind racing. Gaius steps closer, his hand on his sword, but Zainab's voice cuts through, sharp and cold. Leave the boy be, she says. You chase what you don't understand. Gaius laughs, but there's a nervous edge to it. He's heard of her visions, and though he'd never admit it, her words chill him. He hesitates, then turns to Amma. I'll find it, he says, his voice low, and you'll wish you'd given it up. He leaves, his footsteps heavy in the dust, but the air feels heavier still, as if Zainab's words have stirred something unseen. Ammo runs home, his heart pounding, Zainab's warnings echoing in his mind. The belt is still hidden, but the secret is slipping, like sand through an hourglass. Lucius, back at the fort, feels the Empire's weight pressing down, the belt a small but growing thorn in his side. Marcus sharpens his dagger, his silence hiding memories of relics and ruin. Gaius stalks the village, his ambition blinding him to the danger he's chasing. And Zainab alone now mutters a prayer, her eyes seeing things no one else can. Belt a key, a secret that could unravel an empire. Let's pause here, friend. In the desert's quiet dusk, the air is cool, the stars beginning to prick the sky. Amra hides, Gaius hunts, Lucius waits, and Marcus remembers. The belt's mystery deepens, its whispers growing louder. Rest now, and we'll return soon to follow its path, to see what truths or dangers it holds. The desert night wraps the village in a cool embrace, the stars sharp and countless above the mud brick houses. The air carries the faint scent of acacia and the distant temps of smoke from a dying fire. Amar lies on his pallet, his sister lay, soft breathing, a steady rhythm beside him, but sleep eludes him. The belt, now hidden in a clay jar behind the firewood, feels like a presence in the room, its serpents and stars etched in his mind. Zainab's words haunt him, a key, a power, meant to stay buried. He wonders what she saw in her visions, what the belt could unlock, and why it frightens him so. His father, Tariq, sits in the courtyard, his silhouette framed by moonlight, his hands restless as he weighs the danger the belt brings. The Romans are circling, and Tariq knows their patience is thin. If they find the belt, they'll take more than just a trinket. They'll take trust, safety, maybe even lives. At the fort, Lucius stands on the ramparts, the torchlight casting shadows across his weathered face. The air smells of dust and wax, and the distant howl of a jackal punctuates the silence. He's thinking of Gaius, whose reckless ambition could spark trouble, and of Marcus, whose silence hides too much. The belt, though he hasn't seen it, gnaws at him. He's heard of such things, relics tied to old gods, two cults Rome tried to crush. The empire demands loyalty, but loyalty is fragile in these far-flung provinces, where local traditions simmer beneath the surface. News from Petra arrived today, carried by a dust-covered messenger. Trajan is dead, and Hadrian, his adopted heir, is poised to take the throne. The empire holds its breath, and Lucius feels the weight of change, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Gaius, meanwhile, is restless, his palate in the barracks too hard, the air too warm. He lies awake, his mind burning with thoughts of the belt. He sees it as his path to glory, a way to escape the drudgery of this outpost, to earn a name in Rome's marble halls. He doesn't believe Zainab's talk of visions or curses. He's a soldier, not a superstitious villager, but her words unsettle him, like a splinter he can't pull free. He thinks of Amr, the boy's nervous eyes, and of Tariq's calm defiance. They're hiding the belt. He's sure of it, and he'll find it, even if he has to tear the village apart. He slips out of the barracks, ignoring the snores of his comrades, and heads to the fort stores, where he's heard whispers of other strange finds: pottery with unfamiliar runes, a dagger with a hilt shaped like a serpent. Maybe, he thinks, the belt is part of something bigger. Marcus watches Gaius go, his eyes sharp in the dark. He's leaning against the barracks wall, his dagger in hand, its blade catching the torchlight. Marcus knows more than he says, and the belt stirs memories he's tried to bury. In Judea, years ago, he guarded a temple where priests hid relics, objects said to channel powers older than Rome, powers that could sway battles or break minds. One was a bronze amulet, its surface etched with stars and serpents, much like the belt Gaius described. The priests called it a gift from the gods, but Marcus saw what it did to the man who stole it: nightmares, fever, a death no physician could explain. He never spoke of it, not then, not now, but the belt feels like an echo, a shadow of that past. He wonders if Lucius suspects, if the centurion's questions are a test. Marcus tightens his grip on his dagger and follows Gaius at a distance. Silent as a ghost dot in the village, Amr wakes before dawn, driven by a need he can't name. He slips into the courtyard, his bare feet cold against the earth, and retrieves the belt from the clay jar. Its leather is warm, the bronze clasps gleaming, faintly, as if lit from within. He wraps it in a cloth and heads to Zainab's house, determined to learn more. The village is quiet, the air heavy with dew, and the old woman's door is ajar, a faint glow of lamplight spilling out. Zainab is awake, as if expecting him, her hands sorting herbs with a rhythm that feels like a ritual. "You brought it," she says, not looking up. Amr nods, unwrapping the belt, its engravings catching the light. Zainab's eyes narrow, and she mutters a word under her breath, a name, perhaps, or a prayer. "Sit," she says, and Amr obeys, his heart pounding. "The belt was made for a purpose," Zainab begins, her voice low, like the wind over the dunes. "Not by Romans, but by those who walked this land before their eagles came. They worshipped stars, not gods in marble, and they forged things to bind their will to the earth." She touches the belt, her fingers trembling, and Amr swears he sees a flicker in her eyes, like a vision taking hold. "It's a key," she says again, "to a door long closed, but doors once opened don't always lead to light." Am wants to ask what she means, but a noise outside stops him, a crunch of sandals on gravel, too heavy for a villager. It's Gaius, moving through the village alone, his armor glinting in the pre-dawn light. He's followed his hunch, defying Lucius's orders, driven by a need to prove himself. He's heard the villagers whisper of Zainab, of her visions, and he's certain she knows where the belt is. He approaches her house, his hand on his sword, his breath quick with anticipation. Marcus follows, unseen, his steps silent, his eyes fixed on Gaius. He knows the young soldier's recklessness could stir trouble, and he's seen what relics like the belt can do. He doesn't trust Gaius, but he doesn't trust the belt either. Inside, Zainab hides the belt under her mat, her movements swift despite her age. "Go," she whispers to Amr, pushing him toward the back door. "Keep it safe, but don't keep it long." Amr slips out, the belt clutched to his chest, and ducks into the shadows of an alley. Gaius knocks, his fist heavy on the doorframe. "Old woman," he calls, his voice sharp. "I know you're hiding something. Show me." Zainab opens the door, her face calm, her eyes unyielding. "You seek what you don't understand," she says, echoing her warning from the market. Gaius pushes past her, searching the small room, but finds nothing. He curses, his frustration boiling over, and storms out. Unaware of Marcus watching from the shadows, Amr runs home, his heart racing, the belt a burning weight in his hands. He hides it again, this time under a loose stone in the courtyard, his fingers trembling as he covers it with dirt. He thinks of Zainab's words: a key, a door, a power, and wonders what he's stumbled into. Tariq finds him there, his face pale with anger and fear. "You went to her?" he asks, his voice looped. Amr nods, tears in his eyes, and Tariq pulls him close, his own fear breaking through. "We can't keep this," he says. "Not anymore." At the fort, Lucius receives a new message from Petra. Hadrian is emperor, and he's pulling back from Trajan's conquests, recalling legions from the east. The news sends a ripple through the fort, the soldiers muttering about change, about weakness. Lucius knows this means more unrest, more eyes on provinces like this one, where loyalty is thin. The belt, he thinks, could be a spark in a dry field, and he needs to find it before Gaius's recklessness or Marcus's silence ignites it. The sun rises, bathing the desert in gold. Amr sits by the stone, the belt hidden but ever present. Gaius sharpens his sword, his ambition undimmed. Marcus stands watch, his memories a weight he can't shake. and Zainab, alone in her house, sees visions of serpents and stars. Her prayers a quiet plea for the boy, the belt, and the empire teetering above them all. The belt's mystery grows, its secrets pulling tighter, like a noose around a fragile piece. Let's pause here, friend. In the desert's quiet dawn, the air is crisp, the village stirring, the fort restless. Amar's fear, Gaius's hunger, Marcus's past, and Lucius's duty collide, all drawn by a belt that Rome might fear. Rest now, and we'll return soon to follow its path, to see what doors it might open or what shadows it might unleash. The desert stretches endless under a sky bruised purple, the sun sinking behind dunes that ripple like waves frozen in time. The air is thick with the scent of dry earth and the faint temps of sweat-soaked leather as a Roman legion marches along the trade road, their sandals slapping the packed earth in a steady rhythm. The clatter of armor and the low murmur of tired voices filled the dusk. 100 men bound for a fort deeper in Arabia, Petrea, sent to reinforce the border against restless tribes. Lucius leads them, his face set like stone, his thoughts heavy with duty and the belt's nagging mystery. Gaius marches near the front, his armor glinting, his eyes bright with the hope of glory. Marcus, as always, is a shadow among the ranks, his steps silent, his scarred hand resting on his dagger. And somewhere, in a village behind them, Amar clutches the belt's secret, serpents and stars, a weight he can't escape. The march is grueling, the heat lingering even as night falls, the air cooling to a sharp edge that bites through tunics. The legionaries carry heavy packs, grain, water, spears each step, kicking up clouds of dust that cling to their skin. Lucius, astride a horse, scans the horizon, his eyes tracing the dark shapes of hills where bandits or tribes might lurk. He's been ordered to secure the trade road, to keep the flow of spices and gold unbroken, but the news of Hadrian's ascension weighs on him. Trajan's conquests stretched Rome thin, and Hadrian's rumored pullback could embolden the tribes, the Parthians, even the villagers who smile but sharpen knives in secret. The belt, though small, it feels like a piece of this puzzle, a relic that could stir trouble in a province already simmering with unrest. Gaius, marching with the younger recruits, feels the belt's pull like a fire in his chest. He's heard the men whisper about its soldiers' gossip, half joking, half fearful, of a boy's find in the sand of engravings that don't belong to Rome. He's defied Lucius once, sneaking to Zainab's house, and he's ready to do it again. The belt, he thinks, is his ticket out of this dusty hell, a prize to present to the governor in Petra, maybe even to Hadrian himself. He imagines the weight of a promotion, the gleam of a new posting in Rome, far from the desert's endless grind. But as he marches, the darkness seems to press closer, the dunes watching like silent sentinels. He shakes off the unease, telling himself it's just fatigue. But Zainab's words, "You seek what you don't understand," linger like a splinter. Marcus, a few rows back, keeps his eyes on the ground, his thoughts a tangle of memory and instinct. The belt's description, serpents and stars, stirs images of Judea, of a temple half buried in sand, where priests guarded relics with fierce devotion. He remembers the amulet he saw there, its bronze warm under his touch, its engravings alive. In the torchlight, the man who stole it screamed in his sleep, plagued by visions until fever took him. Marcus never spoke of it, but the belt feels like an echo, a warning. He glances at Gaius, noting the young soldier's restless energy, and wonders if he's chasing the same fate. Marcus's silence is his shield, but it's cracking, the belt's mystery pulling at him like a tide. Let's pause and feel the march's rhythm. Picture the legion, a line of glinting armor snaking through the desert, torches flickering like stars fallen to earth. The air carries the creak of leather, the clink of metal, the soft curses of men weary from days on the road. Beyond the dunes, the world is vast and quiet, the only sounds the rustle of wind and the distant cry of a hawk. The fort they're heading to is a day's march away, a lonely outpost where the empire's grip is tenuous, where locals trade but never trust. Lucius knows this march is more than routine. Rumors of raids have grown, and the belt, though he hasn't seen it, feels like a spark that could light a fire dot in the village. Amar wakes to the sound of his mother's voice, soft but urgent, calling him to breakfast. The belt is still under the stone, its hiding place a secret shared only with Tariq, but the boy's dreams are restless, filled with serpents slithering through a sky of stars, their hisses forming words he can't grasp. He eats his in silence, his eyes darting to the courtyard where the stone lies undisturbed. Tariq notices, his face tight with worry. "We need to be rid of it," he says, his voice low so Noor and Layla won't hear. "The soldiers won't stop." Amar nods, but his heart resists. Zainab's words are key, a power echo, and he wonders if the belt is meant for him, if he's part of its purpose. Tariq has a plan. He's heard of a trader, a man named Khalid, who travels deep into the desert, beyond Rome's reach. Khalid is due in the village tomorrow, his caravan laden with goods for distant markets. Tariq thinks he can pass the belt to him, let it vanish into the sands where no soldier will follow. But the thought of letting it go feels like a betrayal, not of Amar, but of something larger, something he can't name. He shakes it off, focusing on his family's safety. The Romans are too close, their questions too sharp. He tells Amar to stay home, to avoid the market. But the boy's eyes are distant, fixed on the courtyard stone. On the trade road, the legion halts for the night, setting camp under a sky thick with stars. The air is cold now, the deserts heat a memory, and the men huddle around fires, their breath visible as they share bread and watered wine. Lucius walks the perimeter, his sandals crunching on gravel, his mind on the belt. He's questioned Gaius again, but the young soldier's answers are evasive, his eagerness a warning. Lucius knows ambition can blind, and Gaius is half blind already. He spots Marcus sitting alone, sharpening his dagger, the blade catching the firelight. "You've seen things like this belt," Lucius says, his voice low. Marcus doesn't look up, but his hands pause. "Stories," he says finally, "nothing more." Lucius doesn't believe him, but he lets it go for now. Gaius, restless, slips away from the camp, claiming he's checking the horses. In truth, he's planning to return to the village at dawn, to search Zanab's house again, to question Amr's family. He's heard the men talk of the belt's strange pool, of dreams that haunt those who speak of it. He dismisses it as superstition. But as he walks, the desert feels alive, its silence heavy, like eyes watching from the dark. He doesn't see Marcus following, a shadow among shadows, his dagger sheathed but ready. In the village, Amr can't sleep. He slips into the courtyard, his fingers digging under the stone. The belt is there, its leather warm, its bronze clasps glinting like eyes. He holds it, feeling a strange calm, as if it belongs in his hands. Zainab's words return it chooses who carries it, and he wonders if he's chosen or cursed. He hides it again, but the act feels futile, like trying to hold back the tide. The Romans are coming, and the belt's secret is slipping. Like sand through his fingers, the legion's camp is quiet now, the fire's dying to embers. Lucius stands, watch, his thoughts on Hadrian, on the empire's shifting tides, on a belt that shouldn't matter but does. Gaius lies awake, plotting his return to the village. Marcus sharpens his dagger, his memories a weight he can't shed, and Amr, back in his courtyard, feels the belt's pull, its serpents and stars a promise or a threat. The empire marches, but the desert holds its own power, and the belt is its voice. "Let's rest here, friend, in the desert's starlit hush." The air is cold, the camp silent, the village waiting. Amr's choice, Gaius's ambition, Marcus's past, and Lucius's duty collide, all drawn by a belt that hums with secrets. Sleep now, and we'll return soon to follow its path, to see where this endless march leads. The desert night is cold, the stars sharp above the legion's camp, where embers glow faintly and the air carries the scent of smoke and leather. Lucius stands at the camp's edge, his cloak pulled tight against the chill, his eyes scanning the dark dunes. The news of Hadrian's ascension has settled like dust, stirring unease among the men. Some whisper of retreat, of legions pulling back from Trajan's far-flung conquests, leaving outposts like this one vulnerable. Lucius feels the weight of command, the need to keep order in a province where loyalty is as fragile as glass. The belt, though he hasn't seen it, looms in his thoughts, a small thing, but small things can spark chaos. He thinks of Gaius' recklessness, Marcus's silence, and the boy in the village, Amr, whose nervous eyes betrayed a secret too big for his small frame. Gaius lies on his pallet, his mind racing despite the march's exhaustion. The belt is his obsession now, a prize that could lift him from this dusty outpost to Rome's marble halls. He's heard the men's tales, whispers of a relic found in the sand, its engraving strange, its presence unsettling. He doesn't believe in curses, but Zanab's words, "You seek what you don't understand," gnaw at him. He plans to slip back to the village at dawn, to confront Amr and his father, to take the belt by force if needed. He doesn't notice Marcus watching from the shadows, the silent soldier's eyes sharp, his hand resting on his dagger. Marcus knows the danger of relics like the belt, memories of Judea's temple stirring like ashes. He's seen what ambition does to men who chase power they can't comprehend, and he fears Gaius is walking that path. In the village, Amr wakes before dawn, the belt's weight pulling him from sleep. The courtyard is quiet, the air heavy, with a scent of dew and acacia. He checks the stone, his fingers brushing the leather, its bronze clasps warm despite the chill. Zainab's words are a key, a power, made before Rumiko, and he feels a strange pull, as if the belt is alive, urging him to act. His father, Tariq, is already up, his face lined with worry as he prepares to meet Khalid, the trader who can take the belt far from Roman hands. Tariq wants it gone, but Amr hesitates, his dreams of serpents and stars vivid in his mind. He wonders if the belt is meant for him, if its purpose is his to uncover. He hides it again, but the act feels futile, like trying to hold back the desert's wind. The legion breaks camp at first light, their march resuming under a sky turning gold. The trade road stretches ahead, a scar of packed earth winding through dunes and rocky hills. Lucius rides at the front, his horse's hooves kicking up dust. His thoughts on the fort they'll reach by nightfall, a lonely outpost where rumors of raids grow louder. Gaius marches with the others, his eyes scanning the horizon, his mind on the village behind them. Marcus keeps pace, his silence is shield, but his memories are restless. He's thinking of the belt's creation, of a story he heard in Judea whispered by a priest before the temple was raised. It was a tale of a blacksmith, a man said to forge for the gods, whose hands shaped relics that bound the earth to the stars. Let's pause and imagine that forge. Long gone but alive in memory. Picture a cave in the desert, its mouth hidden by dunes, its air thick with the scent of charcoal and molten bronze. The year is decades before Rome's legions reached these sands, before the eagles flew over Arabia. The blacksmith, a man named Aram, works alone. His hands scarred from years at the anvil, his eyes bright with a fire that isn't just flame. He's no ordinary craftsman. His people, older than the tribes Rome will later conquer, worship the stars, believing they hold the secrets of life and death. Aram's forge is a sacred place, its walls etched with serpents and stars, symbols of a faith that sees power in the cosmos, not in temples of stone. Aram was tasked with creating the belt, or so the story goes. It was no simple task. The elders of his people, cloaked in robes dyed with indigo, came to him under a starlit sky, their voices low with urgency. They spoke of a key relic to bind their will to the earth, to protect their sacred places from invaders yet to come. Aram worked for days, his hammer ringing against bronze, his sweat mixing with the desert's dust. He wove leather from a beast now extinct, its hide tough but supple, and cast clasps engraved with serpents and stars, each line precise, as if guided by the heavens. The belt was no mere adornment. It was a vessel, a conduit for a power the elders barely understood. When it was finished, they buried it, not in fear, but in trust that it would find the right hands when the time came. Back in 117 AD, the legion marches on, the sun climbing higher, its heat pressing down like a heavy hand. Lucius halts the column at midday, the men resting in the shade of a rocky outcrop. The air smells of sweat and sage, and the soldiers share watered wine, their voices low with gossip. Gaius, impatient, slips away, claiming he's scouting the road ahead. In truth, he's doubling back to the village, his heart set on the belt. Marcus follows, his steps silent, his instincts sharp. He's seen men like Gaius before, young, hungry, blind to the cost of their desires. He remembers the priest in Judea, his warning about relics. They choose their keepers, and they break those who steal. In the village, Tariq meets Khalid at the market's edge, where the trader's caravan is camped. Khalid is a wiry man, his face weathered by years crossing the desert, his eyes sharp with the cunning of survival. His camels are laden with spices and cloth, bound for lands beyond Rome's reach. Tariq trusts him, but only as far as a trader can be trusted. He explains the belt, his voice low, his words careful. Take it far, he says, where no Roman will find it. Khalid nods, but his eyes glint with curiosity. He's heard of such relics, and though he doesn't believe in curses, he knows their value. He agrees to take the belt, but only if Tariq brings it tonight. Under cover of darkness. Ammar, hiding nearby, overhears his heart sinking. He doesn't want the belt gone, not yet. Zanab's words, it chooses who carries it, feel like a truth he can't ignore. He slips home, retrieves the belt from under the stone, and holds it, its bronze warm, its engravings seeming to pulse. He knows he should give it to his father, but something stops him, a pull, a whisper, a sense that the belt is his to protect. He wraps it in a cloth and tucks it under his tunic, his mind racing with plans to see Zainab again, to ask what the belt wants. That the legion reaches the outpost by dusk, a squat fort of stone and timber perched on a hill. The air smells of pine and dust, and the men are weary, their faces etched with exhaustion. Lucius inspects the defenses, his thoughts on the belt, on Gaius's absence, on Marcus's silence. He finds Marcus alone, cleaning his dagger, and presses him again. What do you know? He asks, his voice sharp. Marcus meets his gaze, his eyes steady but guarded. In Judea, he says finally, they said such things were forged for gods, not men. They bring power, but they take more than they give. Lucius nods, his suspicions deepening. The belt is no trinket, it's a spark, and this province is dry tinder. Gaius reaches the village as night falls, his armor hidden under a cloak to avoid notice. He heads for Zanab's house, but finds it empty. The old woman gone to a neighbor's. He searches the market, his frustration growing. Unaware that Marcus is trailing him, a shadow in the dark. Ammar, clutching the belt, slips towards Zainab's only to see Gaius's silhouette in the distance. He freezes, his heart pounding, and ducks into an alley. The belt's weight a reminder of the danger closing in. The desert night deepens, the stars bright above the fort, the village, the dunes. Lucius feels the empire's fragility. Gaius, its hunger; Marcus, its ghosts; and Ammar, its secrets. The belt, forged in a time before Rome, hums with a purpose no one yet understands, pulling them all toward a reckoning. Let's rest here, friend, in the desert's starlit hush. The air is cold, the world quiet, the belt's mystery growing. Ammar hides, Gaius hunts, Marcus watches, and Lucius waits. Sleep now, and we'll return soon to follow the belt's path, to uncover the forge's legacy and the secrets it holds. The desert night is a heavy cloak, the air cool and sharp with the scent of dust and distant sage. The new outpost, a squat fortress of stone and timber, hums with a low murmur of soldiers settling in fires crackling, armor clinking, voices grumbling over meager rations. Lucius stands on the ramparts, his cloak snapping in the wind, his thoughts tangled with duty and doubt. The belt, still unseen but ever present in his mind, feels like a splinter he can't pull free. He's questioned. Marcus, whose cryptic words about relics forged for gods only deepened his unease. Gaius's absence gnaws at him. Toother, young soldier's reckless ambition is a spark in a dry field, and Lucius fears what it might ignite. He scans the dark horizon, where the dunes stretch like silent waves, and wonders if the belt is worth the trouble it's stirring. In the village, Amor crouches in an alley, his heart pounding as he clutches the belt beneath his tunic. Gaius's silhouette looms in the distance, a predator in the market's fading light, his steps heavy with purpose. Amor's breath catches Zainab's warnings. It chooses its keepers, echoing like a pulse. He slips back to his courtyard. The belt's bronze clasps warm against his skin, and hides it under the stone, his fingers trembling. His father Tariq is with Khalid, the trader, finalizing plans to send the belt far from Roman hands. But Amara's dreams of serpents and stars cling to him, urging him to hold on, as if the belt has a will of its own. The village is quiet now, the air thick with the scent of acacia and baked earth, but tension hums beneath the surface. Like a bowstring pulled taut. Gaius moves through the village's shadows, his cloak concealing his armor, his eyes sharp with hunger. He's defied Lucius's orders, driven by visions of glory or promotion. A posting in Rome, a name that echoes beyond this dusty outpost. Zainab's house was empty, but he's certain the boy Amar holds the key. He's heard the soldiers whispers tales of the belt's strange engravings, its unsettling pull, and though he scoffs at curses, a chill lingers, like a breath on his neck. He pauses near the market, now deserted, its stalls silent under the stars. The scent of spices lingers, mingling with the desert's dry bite. Gaius doesn't see Marcus behind him, a shadow among shadows, his dagger sheathed but ready. His memories of Judea's cursed relics, a weight he can't shake. At the outpost, Lucius gathers his officers in the command room, a cramped space lit by a single oil lamp, its air heavy with wax and leather. The walls bear scratches from soldiers' long gore names, curses, prayers. He's learned of Gaius's absence, and his patience is fraying. Find him, he orders, his voice low but sharp, and find that belt. He's heard enough to know it's no ordinary trinket. Marcus's story of a Judean amulet, its bearer lost to fever and nightmares, sits heavy in his mind. The empire is shifting. Hadrian's orders to withdraw legions from the east are stirring unrest, and a relic, like the belt, could be a symbol, a spark for rebellion in a province already restless. Lucius feels the empire's fragility, its borders held by fear and force, and wonders if the belt is a crack in that foundation. Marcus, trailing Gaius, moves silently, his steps blending with the desert's hush. He's seen men like Gaius before, young, hungry, blind to the cost of their desires. In Judea, he watched a soldier claim a relic, only to scream in his sleep until death took him. The belt, with its serpents and stars, feels like an echo of that past, a warning Marcus can't ignore. He keeps his distance, his scarred hand steady, but his mind churns. Why does the belt feel familiar? Why does it pull at him, like a voice from a dream? He spots Gaius near the village's edge, questioning a lone trader, his voice sharp, his hand twitching toward his sword. Marcus pauses, his breath slow, knowing a confrontation is coming. In the village, Tariq returns home, his face etched with worry. Khalid has agreed to take the belt, but only if it's delivered tonight, under cover of darkness. Tariq finds Amor in the courtyard, his eyes wide with fear and defiance. We're giving it to Khalid, Tariq says, his voice firm. It's not safe here. Amor hesitates, his fingers itching to touch the belt, Zainab's wood, key to a door long closed, burning in his mind. He doesn't want to let it go. Not yet, but his father's fear is a weight he can't ignore. He nods, but his heart resists, as if the belt is whispering to him, urging him to stay. The night deepens, the stars bright and cold above the desert. Gaius grows bolder, his search leading him closer to Amir's house. He's overheard villagers whispering of Tariq's meeting with a trader, and he's certain the belt is slipping away. He knocks on a door, demanding answers, his voice cutting through the quiet. The villager, an old man with trembling hands, denies knowing anything. But Gaius pushes past, searching the house, his frustration a fire that blinds him. Marcus watches, his heart steady but his mind racing. He knows the belt's danger, its power to draw men like moths to flame. He steps closer, ready to intervene, but a noise stops him, a shout from the market, where Khalid's caravan is preparing to leave. Amor, unable to sleep, slips into the courtyard, his fingers digging under the stone. The belt is there, its leather warm, its bronze clasps glinting like eyes. He holds it, feeling a strange calm, as if it belongs in his hands. Zainab's voice echoes, it chooses its keepers, and he wonders if he's meant to protect it, or if it's protecting him. He hears footsteps, Gaius, closer now, his shadow falling across the village. Amma wraps the belt in a cloth and runs, not toward Khalid but toward Zainab's house, driven by a need for answers. The old woman is there, her lamp flickering, her eyes sharp despite their milky haze. "You kept it," she says, her voice low, like the desert's whisper. "It won't let you go." Gaius, sensing movement, follows, his steps quickening. He's heard of Khalid, the trader who vanishes into the desert, and fears the belt is slipping from his grasp. He spots Amr's small figure darting through the alleys and gives chase, his armor clinking softly under his cloak. Marcus follows, his dagger drawn now, his instincts screaming of danger. He knows Gaius's ambition could spark chaos, but he also knows the belt's pull is stronger, older, tied to a power he can't name. He quickens his pace, the desert's silence a heavy shroud dotted its nubs. Amr shows her the belt, its engravings catching the lamplight. "What does it want?" he asks, his voice trembling. Zainab's hands shake as she touches it, her eyes distant, as if seeing beyond the room. "It was forged to bind," she says, "to hold a promise, or a curse. It chooses, but it also betrays." Before she can say more, Gaius bursts in, his sword half drawn, his eyes wild. "Give it to me," he demands, his voice a snarl. Amma freezes, the belt clutched to his chest. Zainab stands, her frail frame unyielding. "You'll destroy yourself," she warns, her voice cold. Gaius laughs, but it's brittle, his hand trembling on his sword. Marcus steps into the doorway, his presence a sudden weight. "Enough," he says, his voice low but sharp, his dagger gleaming. Gaius turns, his eyes narrowing, sensing betrayal. "You're with them," he accuses, his voice rising. Marcus shakes his head, his scarred hand steady. "I'm with no one," he says, "but you're chasing death." The room is tense, the air thick with the scent of myrrh and fear. Amr clutches the belt, Zainab's warnings a drumbeat in his mind. Gaius lunges, but Marcus is faster, his dagger pressing against Gaius's side, stopping him cold. That the standoff is broken by a shout from outside. Lucius's men, alerted by the villagers' unrest, approaching fast. Gaius curses, his ambition cracking under the weight of failure. Marcus lowers his dagger, but his eyes stay on the belt, its serpents and stars a silent challenge. Amr slips the belt back under his tunic, his heart racing, knowing the night has betrayed them all. Lucius's voice cuts through, calling for order, and the desert holds its breath, the belt's mystery a spark ready to ignite. "Let's pause here, friend, in the desert's tense night. The air is cold, the stars sharp, the village and fort, caught in the belt's pull." Amr hides, Gaius falters, Marcus reveals, and Lucius closes in. "Rest now, and we'll return soon to follow the belt's path, to see what betrayals or truths it will uncover next." The desert night is a heavy veil, the air cool with the scent of dust and the faint murmur of a distant river. In Zainab's house, the lamplight flickers, casting shadows that dance across the walls, where bundles of dried herbs hang like silent witnesses. Amr stands frozen, the belt clutched beneath his tunic, its bronze clasps warm against his skin, its serpents and stars seeming to pulse with a life of their own. Gaius's eyes burn with frustration, his sword half drawn, but Marcus's dagger at his side holds him still. The silent soldier's face unreadable yet firm. Zainab, frail but unyielding, stares Gaius down, her voice a low warning. "You'll destroy yourself." Lucius's shouts echo outside, his soldiers closing in, their footsteps heavy on the village's packed earth. The air is thick with tension. The belt's mystery, a spark ready to ignite. AMMA are single quotes as heart races, as Zainab's words echo a betrayal ringing in his ears. He wants to run, to hide the belt, but his feet are rooted, fear and fascination warring within him. Marcus lowers his dagger, his eyes flicking to Emma, a silent command to move. "Go," Zainab whispers, her hand brushing Emma's shoulder, urging him toward the back door. Emma slips out, the belt a heavy weight, and darts into the village's alleys, his sandals silent on the cool earth. Gaius curses, shoving past Marcus, but Lucius's voice cuts through the night, calling his men to order. "Enough." The centurion barks, stepping into Zainab's doorway, his armor glinting in the lamplight. "Gaius, stand down." Gaius hesitates, his ambition cracking under Lucius's glare, and retreats, his face flushed with anger. Marcus follows Amma's path, his steps swift but silent, his scarred hand steady. He's seen this before, relics that draw men like moths, burning them in their own desires. In Judea, he watched a soldier fall to madness, clutching an amulet like the belt, its engravings haunting his dreams. Marcus doesn't trust Gaius, nor the belt, but he feels its pull, a whisper from a past he can't escape. He spots Amma's small figure slipping toward the village's edge, where a narrow river cuts through the desert, its waters dark and sluggish under the stars. The river is a lifeline, feeding the oasis and the village's fields. But it's also a place of secrets, where things are buried and forgotten. AMMO reaches the riverbank, the air damp with the scent of reeds and mud. The water glints, reflecting the stars, and the belt feels heavier now, as if urging him to act. He thinks of Zainab's warnings, of his father's plan to give the belt to Khalid. But the thought of letting it go feels wrong, like betraying a promise. He kneels by the water, his fingers brushing the leather, its bronze clasps catching the moonlight. For a moment he considers throwing it into the river, letting the current take it. But a sound stops him, footsteps, soft but deliberate. Turns expecting Gaius, but it's Marcus, his silhouette stark against the dunes. His eyes sharp but not unkind. "You can't keep it," Marcus says, his voice low, almost gentle. Amr clutches the belt tighter, his heart pounding. "Why do you want it?" he asks, his voice small but defiant. Marcus steps closer, his scarred hand open, not threatening. "I don't," he says, "but it wants something. And it's not done with you." Amr frowns, confused, but Marcus's words carry a weight, like a truth he's only beginning to grasp before he can respond. A shout breaks the silence. Gaius, having slipped away from Lucius, charging toward the river, his cloak discarded, his sword gleaming. Marcus moves fast, his dagger drawn, stepping between Gaius and Amr. "Stop," he says, his voice a blade's edge. Gaius laughs, bitter and reckless. "You're protecting him," he spits. "You who says nothing, knows nothing. I'll have that belt, and you won't stop me." Marcus doesn't flinch, his stance steady, but his eyes flicker with something regret, perhaps, or recognition. Amr, trembling, backs toward the river, the belt a burning weight in his hands. He doesn't see the loose earth beneath his feet, doesn't feel the ground give way until it's too late. He slips, tumbling into the shallow water, the belt slipping from his grasp and sinking into the mud. The river swallows the belt, its dark waters closing over it like a secret kept. Amr scrambles to his knees, his hands clawing at the mud, but the current is stronger than it looks, pulling the belt deeper. Gaius curses, shoving past Marcus, and wades in, his armor clinking as he searches frantically. Marcus grabs his arm, pulling him back. "Let it go," he says, his voice sharp. Gaius struggles, his ambition blinding him, but Marcus is stronger, dragging him to the bank. Amr watches, his heart sinking, the belt gone, its loss a hollow ache. He wonders if Zainab was right, if the belt chose him, only to betray him. Now Lucius arrives, his soldiers behind him, their torches casting jagged light across the river. He takes in the synagoguist, soaked and furious. Marcus calm but tense, Amr shivering on the bank. "What happened?" he demands, his voice cutting through the night. Gaius points at Amr, accusing him of hiding the belt, but Marcus shakes his head. "It's gone," he says, his tone final. "The river took it." Lucius's eyes narrow, searching Marcus's face, sensing half-truths. He looks at Amr, who nods, his eyes wet with tears and mud. Lucius feels the empire's weight, the fragility of order in this far-flung province, and wonders if the belt's loss is a blessing or a curse. Back in the village, Tariq returns home, unaware of the river's theft. He finds Amr missing and panics, searching the alleys until he hears of the commotion by the river. He runs, his heart pounding, and finds his son on the bank, soaked and trembling. "Where is it?" he asks, his voice low. Amr shakes his head, unable to speak, and Tariq pulls him close, relief warring with fear. He thinks of Khalid, waiting for a belt that's now gone, and wonders what this means for their safety. The Romans are still here, their questions unanswered, their presence a shadow over the village. At the outpost, Lucius confines Gaius to the barracks, his recklessness a liability. "You've stirred enough trouble," he says, his voice cold. Gaius fumes, his dreams of glory sinking with the belt. But he's not done. He'll search the river, he vows, when Lucius isn't watching. Marcus, silent, cleans his dagger, his thoughts on the belt, on Judea, on a power that doesn't bow to Rome. He knows the river hasn't ended the belt's story. Relics like that don't vanish so easily. He's seen it before, felt it, and he fears what's coming. Amr, back home, lies on his pallet, his mother's voice soothing but distant. The belt is gone, but its absence feels wrong, like a song cut off mid-note. He dreams of serpents swimming through dark waters, their eyes glowing like stars, calling him to follow. Tariq sits by the fire, his mind racing, wondering if the belt's loss will free them or doom them. Lucius, on the ramparts, feels the empire's fragility, the belt a mystery he can't solve. The river flows on, its surface calm but its depths heavy with secrets, hiding a relic that Rome might fear. Let's pause here, friend, in the desert's quiet night. The air is cool, the stars bright, the river whispering. Amr mourns, Gaius schemes, Marcus waits, and Lucius watches. The belt's story isn't over, its secrets waiting in the dark. Rest now, and we'll return soon to follow its path, to see what the river hides or reveals. The desert night is deep, the air cooled with the scent of reeds and damp earth from the river that claimed the Roman belt. The village sleeps, its mud brick houses huddled under a sky thick with stars. But Amr lies awake, his pallet hard beneath him, his mind restless. The belt is gone, sunk in the river's dark embrace, yet its absence feels like a presence, heavy and insistent. His dreams are vivid, serpents swimming through waters lit by glowing stars, their hisses forming words he can't grasp, names perhaps, or warnings. He sees Zainab's face, her milky eyes sharp with knowing, and hears her voice. It chooses, but it also betrays. He wakes with a start, his heart pounding, the air thick with the scent of acacia and his mother's dying fire. The belt is lost, but it's not gone, not from his mind, not from his dreams. At the outpost, Lucius paces the ramparts, the torchlight casting jagged shadows across his weathered face. The air smells of pine and wax, and the distant cry of a jackal punctuates the silence. Gaius's recklessness has stirred trouble, and Marcus's cryptic words about relics forged for gods gnaw at him. The belt, though lost to the river, feels like a thorn in his side, a small thing that could unravel the fragile order of this province. Hadrian's orders to withdraw legions from the east weigh heavy. Fewer men, fewer resources, more chances for rebellion. Lucius knows the villagers are hiding something, and though the belt is gone, its story lingers. Like a whisper he can't ignore. He thinks of Amr, the boy's nervous eyes, and wonders if the river truly ended the mystery. Gaius, confined to the barracks, sits on his pallet, his hands clenched, his ambition a fire that won't die. The belt's loss is a blow, but he's not ready to give up. He's heard the soldiers' tales, whispers of relics that haunt dreams, of objects that resurface despite being buried or drowned. He doesn't believe in curses, but the belt's pull lingers, like a hook in his chest. He plans to slip to the river at dawn, to search its banks, to prove he's more than a lowly legionary. He doesn't notice Marcus watching from the barracks. Shadows, the silent soldier's eyes sharp, his scarred hand resting on his dagger. Marcus knows the belt isn't gone. Relics like that don't vanish. In Judea, he saw an amulet resurface after being thrown into a well, its bearer plagued by visions until madness took him. The belt he fears is the same dot in the village. Tariq sits by the fire, his face lined with worry. The belt's loss should bring relief, but it doesn't. Khalid the trader was angry when Tariq told him the artifact was gone, his eyes glinting with suspicion, as if he thought Tariq was hiding it for profit. Tariq knows the Romans won't stop their questions, their searches, their presence like a storm cloud over the village. He looks at Amma, asleep now, and wonders what the boy saw in Zainab's house, what the old woman told him. He's heard of her visions, her talk of gods and stars, and though he's a practical man, he feels a chill, as if the belt's shadow lingers. Amr wakes again, driven by a need he can't name. The house is quiet, his mother, Noor, and sister Layla asleep, their breathing soft. He slips into the courtyard, the air cool and heavy with dew, and kneels by the stone where the belt was hidden. It's gone, but he feels it still, as if its serpents and stars are etched in his skin. He thinks of Zainab, of her warnings, and decides to see her again, to ask about the dreams that haunt him. He moves through the village's alleys, his sandals silent, the stars bright above. Zainab's house is dark, but a faint glow spills from her doorway, the scent of myrrh and sage heavy in the air. She's awake, as if expecting him, her hands sorting herbs, her eyes sharp despite their milky haze. "You dream of it," Zainab says, not a question but a statement. Amr nods, his voice trembling as he describes the serpents, the stars, the voices that whisper in a tongue he doesn't know. Zainab's face softens, but her eyes are distant, as if seeing beyond the room. "The belt speaks," she says, her voice like dry leaves, not with words, but with visions. "It was forged to bind, to carry a will older than Rome. Those who touch it see things, truths, warnings, fates." She pauses, her hand still. "You saw it, didn't you? In the river. It called you." Amor nods, tears in his eyes, and Zainab sighs. "It's not done with you, boy, nor with them." At the river, Gaius searches the banks at first light, his hands digging through mud and reeds, his armor discarded to move faster. The water is cold, its surface calm but its depths dark, hiding secrets. He finds nothing, but as he searches, his mind clouds. Images, flickering serpents coiling through stars, a voice chanting in a language he can't name. He shakes it off, cursing, blaming the desert's heat, the sleepless night. But the visions linger, sharp and unsettling, like a dream that won't fade. He doesn't see Marcus watching from the dunes, his dagger sheathed but his eyes fixed, as if he knows what Gaius is feeling. Lucius, at the outpost, receives a report of Gaius's absence and sends men to find him. He's tired of the young soldier's defiance, but he's more concerned about the belt. If it's truly lost, why does it still stir trouble? He thinks of Marcus's story, of relics that carry power, and wonders if the river's theft was a blessing or a curse. He summons Marcus, pressing him again. "What did you see in Judea?" he asks, his voice low. Marcus hesitates, then speaks, his words careful. "A priest told me relics like the belt are keys to something older, gods, spirits. I don't know. They choose who sees their truth, and they break those who misuse it." Lucius nods, his suspicions growing. The belt, even lost, is a threat. In the village, Amr returns home, Zainab's words heavy in his mind. He tells Tariq about the dreams, the visions, and his father's face pales. "We're done with it," Tariq says, but his voice lacks conviction. He knows the Romans won't stop, and Khalid's anger means the traitor might talk, might point fingers. Amr, restless, slips back to the river, drawn by a pull he can't explain. The water is quiet, the reeds swaying in the breeze, but as he kneels by the bank, he sees something aglint in the mud, faint but unmistakable. He reaches in, his hands trembling, and pulls free the belt, its leather dripping, its bronze clasps gleaming like eyes, its back as if the river spat it out, and Amma feels a chill, Zainab's voice echoing, "It's not done with you, Gaius." Further down the bank, sees Amma and shouts, his voice raw with triumph. He charges, his ambition blinding him, but Marcus is there, stepping from the dunes, his dagger drawn. "Let it be," Marcus says, his voice a low growl. Gaius laughs, reckless, and lunges, but Marcus is faster, pinning him to the ground. Amma runs, the belt clutched tight, his heart pounding. Lucius's men arrive, drawn by the shouts, and the scene dissolves into chaos, soldiers shouting, Gaius cursing, Marcus silent but unyielding. Amma slips into the village, the belt a burning weight, its visions sharper now, serpents and stars, filling his mind. The river flows on, its surface calm but its secrets alive. Lucius, arriving at the scene, sees the belt in Amma's hands and feels the Empire's fragility, the weight of a relic that shouldn't matter but does. Gaius, restrained by soldiers, vows to reclaim it. Marcus, his dagger sheathed, knows the belt's power is waking, and Amma, hiding in an alley, feels the voices from beyond. The belt's purpose pulling him toward a fate he can't yet see. Let's pause here, friend. In the desert's quiet dawn, the air is crisp, the river whispering, the belt's mystery growing. Amma runs, Gaius fights, Marcus warns, and Lucius watches. Rest now, and will return soon to follow the belt's path, to hear the voices that call from the dark. The desert night is a heavy shroud, the air cooled with the scent of damp reeds and the faint temps of dust. The village lies quiet, its mud brick houses dark under a sky thick with stars, but Amma runs, his sandals slapping the earth, the belt clutched tightly to his chest. Its leather is still wet from the river, its bronze clasps warm, as if alive with a pulse of their own. Zainab's words it chooses its keeper's echo in his mind, mingling with the visions that haunt him, serpents coiling through a starlit void, their hisses forming words he can't grasp. He ducks into an alley, his heart pounding, Gaius's shouts fading behind him. The Romans are close, their torches flickering like predators in the dark. But Amma feels the belt's pull, urging him to keep it safe, to run further, to find someone who can explain its purpose. At the outpost, Lucius stands in the command room, the air thick with the scent of wax and leather. The oil lamp casting shadows on walls scratched with soldiers' names. Gaius, restrained and seething, glares from a corner, his ambition a fire that won't die. The boy has it, he spits, his voice raw. "I saw it." Lucius silences him with a look, his mind racing. The belt's return from the river unsettles. Hemet's no ordinary trinket, not if it can resurface like that. As if called, Marcus stands by the door, his scarred hand resting on his dagger, his silence heavier than ever. Lucius presses him, his voice low but sharp. "You know more than you're saying," he says. Marcus meets his gaze, his eyes steady but guarded. "It's not ours to claim," he says finally. "It never was." Lucius feels the Empire's fragility, Hadrian's orders to withdraw legions echoing like a warning. The belt, small as it is, could be a spark in this tinder-dry province. In the village, Tariq searches for Amma, his face pale with fear. He's learned of the river's chaos, of Gaius's pursuit, and his heart sinks at the thought of his son, caught in the Romans' grasp. He heads to Zainab's house, hoping the old woman knows where Amma went. The air is heavy with myrrh and sage as he enters, finding Zainab sorting herbs, her milky eyes sharp despite the dark. "He's gone to the hermit," she says, her voice low, as if the words themselves carry weight. Tariq frowns, confused. "The hermit?" Zainab nods, her hands still. "Yusuf, the last guardian. He lives beyond the dunes where the old stones it stand." The belt calls to him. Tariq's stomach twists. Stories of Yusuf, a recluse who speaks to the desert, have long circulated among the villagers, but he thought them myths, tales for children. Now, with the belt's shadow over his family, he wonders. Ammar, driven by instinct, moves beyond the village, the belt a burning weight under his tunic. The desert stretches before him, its dunes silver under the moonlight, the air cool and crisp. He's heard of Yusuf, the hermit who lives among the ancient stones, a man said to know the desert's secrets, to hear its voices. The belt feels heavier now, its serpents and stars urging him forward, as if guiding his steps. He climbs a dune, his breath ragged, and sees them in the distance crumbling pillars, relics of a people older than Rome, their surfaces etched with faded symbols. Yusuf's cave is nearby, a dark mouth in the rock, its entrance framed by the bones of long-dead beasts. Amma hesitates, fear and curiosity warring, but the belt's pull is stronger and he steps inside. The cave is cool, the air thick with the scent of charcoal and earth. A small fire burns, casting light on walls carved with serpents and stars, eerily like the belt's engravings. Yusuf sits by the fire, an old man with a face like weathered stone, his eyes bright despite his age. His robes are tattered, his hands calloused, but there's a calm to him, a strength that feels ancient. "You brought it," he says, his voice low, like the desert's hum. Ammar nods, pulling the belt from his tunic, its bronze gleaming in the firelight. Yusuf's eyes soften, but his face is grave. "I knew it would return," he says. "It always does." At the outpost, Lucius organizes a search, sending soldiers to the village and the river. Gaius, released but under watch, burns with resentment, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He knows the belt is out there, and he'll find it, even if it means defying Lucius again. Marcus volunteers for the search, his silence a mask, his thoughts on the belt and its echoes of Judea. He remembers the priest's warning: relics choose their keepers, but they also choose their end. He fears the belt's purpose, its power to draw men like Gaius to ruin. As he marches with the soldiers, his dagger at his side, he feels the desert watching, its silence heavy with secrets. Yusuf takes the belt, his hands steady but reverent. "This was forged before Rome," he tells Ammar, his voice a soft chant, "by a people who worshipped the stars, who bound their will to the earth. It's a key, a promise, meant to protect or destroy." Ammar listens, his heart pounding, the visions of serpents and stars vivid in his mind. Yusuf's cave feels alive, the carvings on the walls seeming to shift in the firelight. "I was its guardian once," Yusuf says, his eyes distant. "I buried it, thinking it safe, but it chooses its path. It chose you." Ammar shakes his head, fear rising. "I don't want it," he says, his voice small. Yusuf smiles, sad, but knowing it doesn't care what you want. Outside, the desert is quiet, the stars bright above the ancient stones. Tariq reaches the dunes, his breath ragged, guided by Zainab's words. He sees the cave's faint glow and hurries forward, calling Ammar's name. Inside, Ammar flinches, but Yusuf raises a hand, calming him. "Your father comes," he says, but others follow. The air grows tense, the belt's presence a weight that presses against them all. Tariq enters, his eyes wide with relief and fear, but before he can speak, a shout breaks the silence. Gaze, leading a small group of soldiers, his ambition driving him to the stones. Marcus is with them, his face unreadable, his dagger ready. He sees the cave, feels the belt's pull, and knows this is no coincidence. Gaius charges forward, his sword drawn, demanding the belt. Yusuf stands, the belt in his hands, his voice calm but firm. "You chase what you cannot hold," he says, echoing Zainab. Gaius laughs, reckless, but Marcus steps forward, his dagger gleaming. "Let it be," he says, his voice a warning. Lucius arrives, his soldiers fanning out, his eyes taking in the scene. Yusuf, Ammar, Tariq, the belt. He feels the empire's fragility, the weight of a relic that could spark chaos. The standoff is tense, the air thick with the scent of charcoal and fear. Ammar clutches his father, the belt's vision swirling in his mind. Gaius lunges, but Marcus is faster, his dagger stopping him short. Yusuf holds the belt, his eyes on Lucius as if weighing his soul. "This is not Rome's," he says, "nor yours." Lucius hesitates, duty warring with instinct. The belt, small but heavy, hums with a power no one can name. Its serpents and stars a promise or a threat. "Let's pause here, friend, in the desert's tense night. The air is cool, the stars sharp, the caves glow, a beacon." Ammar trembles, Gaius rages, Marcus stands firm, and Lucius faces a choice. The belt's guardian speaks, its secrets close to surfacing. "Rest now, and we'll return soon to follow its path, to see what truths or dangers it holds." The cave's firelight dances, casting shadows across walls etched with serpents and stars, their carvings seeming to pulse in rhythm with the Roman belt's quiet hum. The air is thick with the scent of charcoal and earth, heavy with the weight of a moment that could unravel everything. Yusuf stands tall despite his age, the belt in his weathered hands, its bronze clasps gleaming like eyes watching the gathered men. Ammar clings to Tariq, his heart pounding. Zainab's warnings it chooses, but it betrays mingling with Yusuf's words. A key, not Rome's. Gaius, restrained by Marcus's steady grip, glares with a mix of fury and desperation, his ambition a fire that blinds him to the danger. Lucius, flanked by his soldiers, feels the empire's fragility, the belt a spark in a province ready to ignite. The desert night outside is silent, the stars bright above the ancient stones, as if holding their breath for what comes next. Yusuf, eyes bright with a wisdom earned through years of solitude. "Meet Lucius. Is this belt," he says, his voice low but resonant, "was forged before your city rose, before your eagles flew. It carries a will, a purpose, to protect or to destroy." He pauses, his fingers tracing the serpents, their coils seeming to writhe in the firelight. "It was buried to wait, to find hands worthy of its truth. But truth is heavy. Centurion, are you ready to carry it?" Lucius stiffens, his hand resting on his sword hilt, duty warring with a growing unease. He's seen the empire's cracks, corrupt governors, restless tribes, soldiers like Gaius who chase glory over sense. The belt, small as it is, feels like a test he wasn't prepared for. Ammar, pressed against Tariq, feels the belt's pull, its visions of serpents and stars vivid in his mind. He's only a boy, yet the relic chose him, surfacing from the sand, then the river, as if drawn to his hands. He wants to speak, to tell Yusuf to take it, to free his family from its shadow. But his voice catches, fear and fascination tangled. In his throat, Tariq's grip tightens, his face pale but resolute. He's a trader, a man of wool and bargains, not relics and gods. But he knows the Romans won't leave empty. Give it to them, he whispers to Yusuf, his voice strained. Let it be their burden. Yusuf shakes his head, a faint smile on his lips. It's not mine to give, he says, nor theirs to take. Gaius, trembling under Marcus's hold, can't stay silent. It's mine, he shouts, his voice cracking. I'll take it to Petra, to Hadrian. It's my path. Marcus tightens his grip, his dagger still pressed against Gaius's side, his scarred face calm but unyielding. You'll take nothing, he says, his voice low, carrying the weight of Judea's memories, relics that broke men, amulets that whispered madness. Marcus has felt the belt's echo, its serpents and stars stirring visions he's tried to bury. He looks at Yusuf, recognizing a man who's carried the same burden, and wonders if the hermit knows how this ends. Lucius steps forward, his armor clinking softly, the torchlight catching his weathered face. Enough, he says, his voice cutting through the cave's tension. Hand it over, old man, or we'll take it. His words are firm, but there's a flicker of doubt in his eyes, a sense that the belt is more than a prize. Yusuf holds his gaze, unafraid, and lifts the belt higher, its bronze glinting like a challenge. Take it, he says, his tone soft but sharp, and you'll carry its weight, not just its leather. It's a key, but to what? Even I don't. No, a door, a promise, a curse. Choose wisely, Roman. The cave falls silent, the fires crackle, the only sound, the air thick with the scent of myrrh and fear. Amma's breath hitches, his eyes fixed on the belt, its serpents seeming to move in the flickering light. He remembers Zanab's visions, Yusuf's tales of a people who worshipped stars, and feels a pull, as if the belt is speaking to him alone. Tariq's hand trembles, his practical mind screaming to end this, to let the Romans have their trinket, but his heart knows it's not that simple. Gaius struggles, his ambition a fire that burns despite the odds, while Marcus stands steady, his silence a shield for truths he can't yet speak. Lucius hesitates, his instincts honed by years of command clashing with a deeper, unnamed fear. He's seen omens, birds flying wrong, fevers striking without cause. The belt feels like one, a relic that doesn't belong to Rome's ordered world. He thinks of Hadrian, pulling legions back, leaving provinces like this to fend for themselves. A rebellion here, sparked by a relic, could spread, weakening the empire's eastern flank. He steps closer, his hand outstretched, but Yusuf pulls the belt back, his eyes narrowing. You don't understand, the hermit says. It's not yours. It never was. The standoff breaks when Gaius, with a sudden burst of strength, twists free from Marcus, lunging for the belt. Marcus moves fast, his dagger flashing, but Yusuf is quicker, stepping back. The belt clutched tight. Ammar, acting on instinct, darts forward, grabbing the belt from Yusuf's hands, his small frame slipping between the men. Stop, he cries, his voice raw, the belt held high. The cave freezes, all eyes on the boy, the relic glinting in his trembling hands. Lucius's soldiers shift, their swords half drawn, but Lucius raises a hand, halting them. Speak, boy, he says, his voice softer now, sensing a truth in Ammar's fear. Ammar's words tumble out, a rush of dreams and visions, serpents, stars, voices from the dark, Zainab's warnings, Yusuf's tales. It's not for you, he says, tears in his eyes, looking at Lucius then Gaius. It's something else, something older. He doesn't know what he means, but the belt feels alive, its weight a promise he can't break. Yusuf nods, a flicker of pride in his eyes, while Tariq steps forward, his face torn between fear and awe. He's just a boy, Tariq says, his voice breaking. Let him go. Lucius feels the empire's weight, its need for order, but also its limits. He's a soldier, not a priest, yet the belt's mystery presses against him, like a tide he can't fight. He looks at Marcus, whose silence speaks louder than words, and at Gaius, whose ambition has burned to ash. Take it, he says finally, his voice heavy, nodding to Yusuf, but keep it hidden. Rome doesn't need this. Yusuf bows his head, a gesture of respect, and takes the belt, wrapping it in a cloth. It will stay with the desert, he says, until it's needed again. Gaius collapses, his dreams shattered, his eyes empty. Marcus sheaths his dagger, his scarred hand steady, but his mind churns with memories of Judea, of relics that never truly rest. Amma falls into Tariq's arms, the belt's weight lifting, though its visions linger. Lucius leads his men out, the cave's firelight fading behind them, the desert night swallowing their steps. Yusuf remains, the belt hidden once more, his role as guardian renewed, his cave a sanctuary for secrets older than empires. The village wakes to a quiet dawn, the air crisp with the scent of dew and acacia. Ammar helps his mother bake bread, his dreams softer now, the serpents and stars fading like mist. Tariq trades wool in the market, his eyes wary but lighter, the Roman shadow receding. At the outpost, Lucius prepares to march. Hate orders pulling his legion west, leaving the belt's mystery behind. Gaius, demoted, marches in silence, his ambition a scar he'll carry. Marcus sharpens his dagger, his silence deeper, knowing the belt's story isn't over. Not truly. Let's linger here, friend, in the desert's gentle dawn. The belt rests with Yusuf, its secret safe, its echoes rippling through time. Think of it, this small thing that stirred so much fear, ambition, duty, faith. It reminds us how the past lives in us, in the stories we tell, the relics we guard. Like Amr, we stumble into mysteries, carrying them until they find their place. Like Lucius, we face choices that shape more than we know. And like Yusuf, we guard what matters, even when the world moves on. If you've enjoyed this tale, suscríbete si te gustó el video, subscribe if you liked the video. It keeps these stories alive, connecting us across centuries, like stars in the desert sky. Rest now, friend, and let the echoes of eternity carry you to sleep. We'll meet again soon, for another tale, another mystery, another whisper from the past.